another year with us. But we are the group POWR, P-O-W-R. It stands for Progressive, Open-Minded Women of the Revolution. We also allow men in our group, though. Right now, we are just a Facebook group. There's a sign-up sheet in the back if you'd like us to add you to our group. We are working on getting a web page so that we can keep people informed. We have several missions, and one of them is to educate the community on ways that we can make our hometown a better place, things that we can do to help out our neighbors. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about tonight at the end of John's Politics 101 discussion. But we are here to listen. We have committed to voting in local elections and trying to make Jefferson City and Jefferson County a better place for all of its citizens. Our speaker for tonight is John Sonnen. John is a recovering high school teacher. We can all appreciate that. He's a former college administrator. He loves American history, and he's highly involved in government. He also just so happens to be an active member of our POWR group, and he is the chairman of the Jefferson County Democratic Party. He's going to lead us in a lesson on politics that we probably all took in high school, and it never hurts any of us to be refreshed on it. And then he's going to open the stage up for questions, and he'll try to answer them. And then Gretchen and I are going to lead you in a discussion, and we hope you will help us on ways that we can make our community a better, happier place, that we can have people feel that they are welcome here, which is something I think that we all want. So thank you, and John, I'll let you have it.
Thank you. I feel like I've got a spotlight in my eyes. And apparently I've got a throat tickle, so luckily I put my bottle of water, and I'm probably going to leave it on this front table. Let me go back there. I'm famous among my friends for talking way too much, so I give myself quite a lecture about keep this brief, don't get off the script, follow the script that's on the teleprompter at 2:45. So I'm going to try to do that. And it's at times going to seem probably overly simple, but the idea is just to review. I'm going to cover state, federal, county, and city, and I'm pretty rough on county and city. So my doctorate, who knows a great deal of detail about that, is going to be my expert in the booth, my backup. He's going to be able to answer questions that I'm not going to be able to. So there'll be a certain point where I'll probably defer to Mike's knowledge, and it'll be rather obvious that I don't know what. Oh wait, no, I won't say it that way. Anyway, as I've gotten older, my weak throat muscles have let me down when it comes to talking to a large room, and so I'll try to remember to use a strong enough voice that everybody can hear. But if I fade away into that quiet voice, just raise your hand so I kind of know, oh, I've done it again. Anyway, we're going to try to use magic here. And so the screen should change to the next slide. I'm using PowerPoint. I don't have magic graphics. But I would be glad to follow the director's instructions so that she gets the screen in here as well as me as you see fit. So place me, put me in my place, Madam Library Director person. Okay. All right. It's really fundamentals. It's more like a refresher course. The lengthiest part is the first part, where I'm going to talk about the federal government, its structure, the branches. State government is really quite simple, although different, but it differs from state to state. And of course, we live in Tennessee, so we'll talk some about Tennessee, but it's really similar in structure. And so that's going to be fairly short. County government is really a different animal. Horse, cow, giraffe, lion. It's pretty different. But they all have the same elements, an executive, a legislative part, and there's a little bit of judicial that we don't think about every day. And city government is different too, but it's more like county government. So we'll cover all four of those before I'm done. And And hopefully, I'm done in 15 minutes. We'll see how I do. I just said, I'm going to try to keep it short. And then we're going to do a group discussion on what can I do, meaning what can you do? How can I get involved? How can I stay active? How can I not lose sleep? How can I take good care of my health? How can I actually wield some bit of power, even if it's like a grain of sand with the other grains of sand? How can I have influence? So we'll try to make it personal, and we're going to try and get ideas from you guys. Okay, a little geeky. This is all I'm going to talk about. So I'm a retired college administrator. I worked at 6 different colleges in 2 different fields, something called student affairs or student life. At one point they called it student development, but it's all the student stuff that happens outside the classroom at a college. And then, as my friend said, I turned to the dark side and went into information technology kind of stuff. I dealt mostly with servers and software and not with fixing PCs and running networks. I also taught high school for a few years, geography and history, and occasionally a political science course. I'm a history nerd. At one time I had 2,000 books in my collection, they're almost all history. And I remember moving from across this country from the Washington State to back home to the South. My wife said, "You've got to sell all those books. It's going to cost a ton on the moving van." And so now I'm down to just 800. I married into a Carson Newman family. I didn't grow up here. My wife was a 1972 graduate of Carson Newman. Her parents were faculty members. Her brother graduated from here. She had 6 cousins and other family relatives like cousins-in-laws that graduated from Carson Newman. So finally we moved back here after a while. But one blessing besides my wife died 25 years ago from breast cancer. But one of the extra blessings was her parents. They were the neatest, wonderful, most wonderful people. And her dad started the College Counseling Center as a new thing that President Harley Fight thought was important for Carson Newman. And her mother, in a day when women weren't professors, taught math, and after a while moved into the education department. Anyway, I love Carson Newman. I love Jefferson City. So when it was time to retire, under the Constitution, there are 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and the judicial. You'll see that over and over again. You probably learned that from your 5th grade teacher, if not your high school teachers. The 3 branches of government. In the legislative branch, there's 2 senators for each of the 50 states. So that's 100 senators in the Senate. And the House of Representatives, it's based on population, roughly. And they'll recompute that as soon as the census figures come out. So the next census is in 2020 and 2021. They'll recompute how many representatives Tennessee should have, or Kentucky should have, or Delaware should have, that sort of thing. Anyway, I gave an example here. Where Tennessee has 9, Kentucky has 6. There are several states, a lot more than what's on here, that only have 1. Like huge Alaska has 1, because they don't have as many people. The largest congressional delegation, the most populous state, is in California. So it has 53. Texas has 36. Not a lot of people realize there's a huge population in Texas because it's big and it's got several big metropolitan cities plus all those other counties in Texas. So anyway, Tennessee has 9. That's a significant thing to know about. I happen to live in Congressional District 1 for Phil Rowe. I live over on East Ellis Street behind the shopping center where Big Lots is. But other people in town live in John Duncan's. Did you know Jefferson City was actually divided in terms of the senators are elected for a 6-year term. 1/3 of them are elected every 2 years. And there's some formula that they use to do that. But they're elected for a 6-year term. In the case of Tennessee, we have one of our senators coming up for re-election in 2018, another one in 2020. But there won't, since we only have 2 senators, 2022 won't have a U.S. Senate election. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But other states in 2022 will be electing 1/3 of the Senate. Representatives, U.S. representatives, are elected every 2 years, and they are all up for election in every even-numbered year. One of the primary duties of the House of Representatives is to generate the federal budget. So they have an elaborate budget committee that go through that. The various senators all put in there. There was one, I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, there was one famous congressman at one point who got a bill passed to build an international airport in his small town. He was just famous for wheeling and dealing. So a 7,000-foot runway got built in a little while ago. I wasn't able to name the town. Anyway, it's northeast of Pittsburgh, a small town with 50,000 people in it. They don't have any need to fly people out, but he was on the Armed Services Committee. And so there were various people that wanted a deal. If you'll vote for this, we'll vote for that. Anyway, Congress. The budget process is started in Congress, and all the Senate needs to do is approve it or suggest some changes. And it goes back to the committee that tries to compromise the suggested changes, but it's really the House that does the budget, and it's written that way in the Constitution. The House originates the federal budget, goes to the Senate for approval, and if they both approve, then it goes to the President. The House also, legislators, I'm talking about U.S. House congressmen, also create suggested laws, amend existing laws, and either the Senate or the House can do that. And they send it to the other chamber for approval, and the 2 chambers agree that it goes to the House, it goes to the President for approval, for signing. The Senate approval process, approval process for cabinet secretaries we've just seen recently in the news. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but the Senate is the official approving chamber. The House doesn't do that. That's the Senate. It's the upper house. So that's a fine thing most people don't realize. So I'm going to not talk about that. All right, here's the President. Simple language and simple speak and simple talk. The President has the day-to-day responsibility of running the normal operations. Is this a little fuzzy? I didn't realize it was a little fuzzy since you moved it. See if I can share it up with you. Oh, that's nice. That close. Oh, it's just going to be much better than that. Sorry. It's about as good as I'm going to get. Anyway, the President has day-to-day operations running the government and all his departments and agencies. He's the commander-in-chief of the military. He appoints ambassadors. He negotiates treaties. And once he negotiates a treaty, then the Senate, with a 2/3 majority, approves it. The House has no approval power regarding treaties, only the Senate. The President appoints federal judges, cabinet level secretaries, federal agency directors, and the Senate is specified as the approving body. The President enforces all federal laws, and that's done via the Justice Department or other agencies such as the Park Service or Homeland Security there's other federal agencies that have the equivalent of a police department to take care of it. Changing to the judicial. You all know about the Supreme Court. There's 9 Supreme Court justices, one of which is named. Oh, was that the talk louder thing?
No, we'll sit there, right now they're 8, of course.
Oh, yes, I'm talking about how it's the plan. There is a vacancy, that's right. Currently, there's 8. But the structure is that there is to be 9 Supreme Court justices in about 80 years ago, it was, or maybe 100, it was 6. And they decided that that wasn't appropriate, so it's been 9 for quite a while. Anyway, one of them is named as the Chief Justice. The Supreme Court building is 200 yards from the east side of the Capitol, maybe it's 300 yards. It's real close to the United States Capitol. And it's a pretty building. The federal regional courts are in every state, and Knoxville has a federal court downtown. I think it's still in what's called the federal building downtown. I sort of lost track. But several states have a federal court in the larger metropolitan cities. I think there's one in Chattanooga, Nashville, and Memphis, besides Knoxville.
In Greenville.
And Greenville also. Thank you. Appreciate it. You would know that.
I worked there.
Okay. Keep it straight. So far as I know and could research, but I'm weak on this, once you're appointed a federal judge, it's lifetime. Is that
Law
correct?
for good behavior, and in my opinion, good behavior is viewed very broadly.
Yes, good behavior indeed. You actually have an impeachment process if there's a problem, right, for the federal judges?
I don't know about that. I guess it would be impeachment.
Now I'm going to switch to see how I switched all of a sudden. Whoop, state government. It's very similar to the federal government. It's got 3 branches too. There's a governor. There's a Senate and a House in Tennessee. And 1 or 2 states have something a little different. There's one state that has a unicameral. They only have 1 chamber. Anyway, Tennessee. Let's stick to Tennessee. And judicial. There are state judges. There's 2 chambers, the Senate and the House. House members serve for 2 years. Senate members serve for 6 years. Our local senator is Frank Nicely. He's one of those guys who thinks it's okay for the citizens to buy machine guns and rocket launchers that can shoot planes down, because that's a hobbyist. You like to do that. And he thinks that's swell. He was also the one that killed the Tennessee, what was the name of the governor's health plan? Tennessee Promise?
Yeah. No, it wasn't called prom. That's the school thing.
That's right.
It wasn't him alone.
Insure Tennessee, yes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Frank Nicely made sure it didn't get out of committee. Never got heard of before. Local House members are Jeremy Faison and Andrew Farmer. I don't remember exactly where the split is in Jefferson City, but Jefferson County is split between 2 House districts.
Chucky Pike.
Chucky Pike, thank you.
Is that what it is? Because Faison's Douglas Lake, isn't it? I mean, that in?
Faison is Chucky Pike to the east in Cobb County, Fort Spring County.
Yeah.
So the eastern part of Jefferson County and the center and the western part of Jefferson County is Andrew Farmer. Like the U.S. Senate and House, they both have specific duties involving the budget, passing laws, approving appointees, and the governor wants to be head of the department or an agency, and they have a ton of standing committees. I forgot to mention that in the federal government, the House has 20 standing committees and 1 special committee that still is in existence. What was the one the Benghazi committee still is in existence. Yes?
How does a standing committee differ from some other kind of committee?
They can create a special committee that's only going to exist to take care of and review Yes, and from time to time, we'll move it around a little bit, but, for instance, there's the Department of Agriculture, there's an Agriculture Committee. There's the Department of Health and Human Services, there's a Health Committee. So it tends to, but isn't limited to, a department.
Is that
And several of the standing committees have subcommittees that are also very active, and at least in the U.S. House, I'm not sure about the state, but as a member of the House, you're usually assigned to a committee based on your seniority, the number of years that you've been in Congress. Now, there's a few seats that they give to the junior members that have just been elected for the first time, but that's pretty rare. Anyway, Lamar Alexander is on the committee that is, and I'm not going to get all the topics right, but it's education and health and two other things. Okay. Anyway, standing committees is pretty much how the House looks at some proposed bill and decides Senator Sanders' bill is no good, but Senator Schwarzkopf's bill is good, and that should go to the Senate floor for further discussion, that kind of thing. Sometimes they will send their staffers out to do research and go, but anyway, they operate on committees as well as their day-to-day. Same is true at the state level and national. And I didn't go look at all of the standing committees lately, but a couple of years ago I looked at it. It really looked very similar to the federal agriculture, commerce, education, pretty much all the departments you would imagine. The governor is the executive and has responsibility to oversee the day-to-day operations of the government of Tennessee. His duties are slightly different than the U.S. president, but really, really, really quite similar. I'm not even sure he's in charge of the National Guard, but he can call up the National Guard. Like the President of the United States is the commander-in-chief of the military. The governor can call up the National Guard, but I'm not sure he can actually order them into battle or something like that. There's a general who's in charge of the Tennessee National Guard who would do some of this. Anyway, very, very similar to the duties of the president. Luckily, there's a lawyer in the room who will correct all my mistakes. State judges are appointed for a 4 or 6 year term by the governor. Still correct. I'm not sure why there's a 4 or 6.
I was thinking it was 8, and I'm not sure. I'm
All right.
that.
Some deal with state felony crimes, some with lesser offenses, some deal with suits, torts, and property laws, some handle only juvenile cases. So there's a variety of state level judges. Every so often when you go to vote, you'll see on your ballot, shall John Sonnen be retained as a state judge for blah, blah, blah. So after they've served one term, the voters actually get to say, yeah, I thought they did an okay job or a good job, and vote yes or no on that judge. That doesn't happen at the federal level, but it does happen at the state level, and not every state does that. Tennessee does. Now, the county government, for all intents and purposes, all the real power is in that legislative branch, the county commission. There's the county mayor, there's the county commission, there are county judges, and I think I embedded a quiz in here. There it is. See how many know this? Mike, you be quiet. What's the last name of the Jefferson County mayor?
Paul Marion.
All right, very good, very good. Paul Marion, Alan Paul Marion, correct? First name?
I think so, yeah.
And he also, at one point, was a city mayor of Jefferson City. The county mayor is elected to a 2-year term. The next election is 2018, 4-year term. Thank you. That's why Mike is in the room. Four-year term, county mayor, four-year term, but it is 2018. The mayor has the responsibility to run and oversee the day-to-day operations of the county government, but when I get to city, it's not the same. Anyway, I've gone into the county courthouse to check out a key to use a room we reserved, and the mayor is there going to the key box. Here you go. So he's in that courthouse every day, all the time. That's his job, as it were, to be there. So I'm sure he gets a salary. I don't know, and I don't care what it is. But in the county government, the mayor is on hand at work every day. In city government, that's not true. The mayor can make appointments to some county boards and commissions that are not permanent boards or commissions, according to what I read. And I'm not sure that I know for the more permanent ones, is that the county commission that appoints?
County commission, the mayor normally recommends people.
Okay.
Or the commission, members of committees can come from the commission nominating committee. There are certain committees that the mayor recommends, like the hospital committee, that governs that little fund, the board that governs the funds that they have. He makes the recommendation to that, but county commission has to approve them.
And the story that comes to mind is Eli McTevich, who has been a hospital administrator for 25 years in the medical profession and didn't get approved, but
He was instrumental in setting up the fund.
yeah, imagine that. The mayor is expected to hire department heads, but they are often but not always reviewed by county commission. I found a few instances where it's like the county commission didn't care for that smaller office, but they do seem to care for the more public office. The mayor is expected to, and it's written in the bylaws or whatever that is that organizes it, is expected to attend all the monthly county commission meetings, and I'm going to repeat the phrase, monthly county commission meetings, so that when we get to discussion time, just know that there's a monthly city council meeting, there's a monthly county commission meeting, and it's okay to go to those as a member of the public. I am not really well versed on all the different kinds of courts, but there's a circuit court, a sessions court, a chancery court at the county level, and I've done a little digging on the county website, a couple other places. They're going to deal with property rights, business disputes between businesses, contract disputes between businesses or vendors, suits between local citizens, violation of a city ordinance, which I don't quite understand why the county would get in there as opposed to city government, but I found that written out. And there's a juvenile court, which is very active. It's a pretty darn good active court.
It's everything to do with kids,
Yeah.
not just custody.
Well, that's right. If it's a kid of a foster kid needing this, that, or the other thing, maybe medical care or extra services or a special needs kid.
Abused kids, runaways, juvenile delinquents.
Thank you. The county commission has structured so that there are 10 voting districts in Jefferson County, and 9 of them send 2 people. We elect 2 people from each of those 9. But White Pine has a little bit higher, denser population, so they get 3. So there's 21 rather than 20 members on the county commission. They serve a 4-year term. There are monthly meetings in the main courtroom in the county courthouse. You go in the front door of the county courthouse and just keep walking about 5 steps in the actual courtroom of the actually in the
of that stuff's in sessions, Justice Center now.
Oh, that's right. Sorry,
Almost.
thank
All
you.
the courts meet over there except for the commission now.
Okay,
One other thing, John, though it averages out to almost a monthly meeting, actually, the county commission is only required to hold quarterly meetings. Now, by the time it's done with, you have 10 meetings, like in this year, they're meeting 10 months out of 12.
okay.
But it's a quarterly meeting is what they normally call for.
Thank you.
And then when they start talking about budget, the budget committee meets constantly. I used to go to those meetings. And then their budget has to be approved by and that includes tax increases and stuff,
There are working subcommittees of the commission, and the budget one is
The
probably.
budget
the
one's a
most
big
famous.
one.
Yeah. So, see, I'm really glad you guys are correcting me. All right, city government. In the case of, I'm using Jefferson City as an example, and I assume Dandridge, White Pine, New Market, Strawberry Plains are very similar, but the one I know most about, took some time researching city government. The mayor is a political appointment and signs official documents, but the last couple of mayors have had full-time jobs, so they're not in City Hall every day. They're working at their job, whether they're a real estate agent or supervisor for one of the private ambulance services or whatever else it is they do, they're at their full-time job. And like city council members have full-time jobs, most of them, they only meet for a working meeting or an official monthly meeting, city council. There is at the bottom here, the day-to-day operation supervision is done by the city manager. Last name is Johnson. I want to say John Johnson. That's not right, is it? It is John Johnson.
And they're hired by city council
Yes,
in both of them.
right. The city manager is hired by the city council. And for city government, for all intents and purposes, all the effective power, I am talking way too long, I really meant to do it shorter, is in the hands of the council. The mayor presides over meetings like a chairperson, and he can sign documents as the official authority of the city, contracts, deeds, ordinances, etc. But the mayor votes at council meetings with no veto power. And in effect, he's just another council member in terms of his authority, other than he's officially authorized to sign something that needs a single name on it. He's the mayor. Or she, excuse me, or she. I'm virtually at the end here, and I want to throw this in. You're most affected by local government. We're really lucky in Jefferson City to have a really good city police department, really good fire department, top rated. We have good ambulance service here. And we all want to feel safe in our neighborhoods, and we want to have good roads where we live and or how we drive to work, rather than roads full of potholes or slippery when wet and that kind of thing. So our local government is the one that affects us more than the federal state. But the federal is sure taking our attention these days. School board, road commission, those things. So there's a local element and there's a personal involvement with federal and state politics and local, but you can actually go to city council meetings, you can actually go to county meetings easier than you can get into the state legislature.
And actually, if you go, I went for a newspaper, the Citizen Tribune in the 90s. If you go, you'll just get hooked. They're kind of high drama, a lot of them. Yeah, Mike says, yeah. They have their working session, so they have 2 a month really. The working session, and then they have the other one where they're just supposed to vote, but lots of times in Dandridge, at least, they will just rehash everything in the actual meeting too, you know, as if they never even had a working meeting.
But the working session is usually a little bit more raucous than the voting session, because the voting session is filmed. So if you have something that you want to say and be on the record, you do it in the voting session.
Well, Jefferson City always was the best run, but I had to go to both of, I had to go to Jefferson City and Dandridge, and Jefferson City's very professional. Was, I haven't done it for a long time, but Dandridge not so much.
Those video recordings, are they available to the public? The video, you said that the sessions were recorded?
Yes, they're recorded, and I can't tell you how available they are. They used to be on, was it C-SPAN or, no, not C-SPAN, a local, yeah.
Some of the charter.
Yes, one of the charters.
I could get one on my charter.
Okay, if
Oh,
you're
yeah, I
charter,
can't either.
I haven't seen one in a long time. The county does have a website, but the postings on it are sporadic at best or non-existent. So I don't know where you would go to see them, but all of the voting meetings are recorded.
And you know, there are actually things that, if you pay attention, there are things that they try to pull or that you will be interested in maybe stopping or encouraging. So, you know, if you hear about that stuff, you're lucky enough to hear about it, you know, you can go and you're allowed to speak for 5 minutes, you know, that kind of thing.
Sign up before.
You have to sign up, but you
But
can.
you can stand up and address the council.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honey, I think this. When you sign up, how much time do you need, could you
5
read that
minutes.
day?
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Sorry for interrupting.
It's fairly brief, but I showed up a couple of times when we were going to vote on funding the new library, for example, to speak for the new
Yeah.
library. And once when one of my friends who had been on the council was retiring, to just say thank you
Yeah.
and stuff.
And
May I jump in just a second, because we're doing a live stream, is there anyone, like, it would be more interesting if I would video whoever's speaking, is there anyone here who would not like to be shown on the live stream? Raise your hand if you don't want to be, anyone else here? Okay. All right.
I have something. There's something that personally troubles me because of the sunshine law. Would you talk to us about the packet business?
That should come up again in this next commission. Before each commission meeting, there is a packet gathered by the secretary of the county commission. When you, and that usually has the reports from all the county departments, anything that's coming up to be considered by the commission will be addressed in that packet. I have asked the commission twice for it. I have offered to pay for it. I even donated a $350 scanning machine so that they could post it, and yet they will not post those packets. And if you go to a county commission meeting, you will get an agenda. And on the agenda, it will say, vote on amendment number 403, part 5, C packet. Or C handout. At a recent county commission meeting, there was a gentleman standing beside me who asked me, he had never done one before, and he said, where do I get this handout? I said, oh no, you're not going to get that handout. They have it. You won't have it. The commission actually voted that the chairman should post those packets on the county website so that voters can read what they're considering in in time to advise their commissioner that this is what I would like for you to do on this.
Sounds very.
But so far, the chairman of the commission has refused to do that.
So as I understand it, they'll say, "Well, we're voting on this, that's at such and such place in your packet," but if you're sitting out in the audience, you don't have any idea what they're talking about.
You can go through almost a whole page of the agenda and not know what they voted on.
That's outrageous.
Is it still Marty Mills who's the president of the county commission?
Oh, no, it's Jim Carmichael.
John Carmichael, okay, so, well, it sounds like that might be a thing to contact our county commissioners about, at least. I can
Yeah, I was,
contact